if we will believe that he is who he says he is, then by grace through faith we can be forgiven because his blood washes our sin away. Our brokenness is completely made clean by his broken body and his blood shed. I was thinking about it this week, and I felt like saying, yeah, Jesus forgave me, but I haven't forgiven myself yet. It's kind of like if you walked into work tomorrow, or Tuesday. Tomorrow's a holiday. If you walk into work on Tuesday and your boss comes to your office and says, hey, you're doing a great job. I want to give you a 10% raise. And you're like, oh, thank you, but let's press pause on that, all right? I know you're in charge and you want to give me a 10% raise, but I want you to not pay me anything until I feel like I can give myself a raise. Like I don't know how long that's going to be. So just put it on hold, and I'm going to try and get there for me, even though it's your job. Or it's like some of you are students in here. Can you imagine finishing finals and getting a report card of all A's and then walking back into your teacher and being like, I don't feel like I've deserved this. I know you're in charge of the grades, but could you just give me a C instead until I feel like I could give myself an A? I've asked for a couple A's when I got C's. I did it in college all the time. But I don't know anyone who's ever asked for a C when they got an A. It's ridiculous, right? Do you know how often we do that same thing with forgiveness, though? I did it this week. Uncomfortable confession time. I had a moment where I was frustrated with Jenny, and I was a little bit snotty for like the second or third time in our marriage this week. And then I apologized, and she was fine. It wasn't a big deal, but I was like sitting there at night praying, and I just had this moment where I was like, I should be better by now. Like, how long do I have to be following Jesus to still just be this trash at it? And I was like, I was like, God, how many times can I abuse your grace before you're just kind of tired of me doing that? And I hit the limit of sins. And you're like, I am so sick of forgiving you. And I sat with that for a minute, and I felt like I was like, how dumb are you? And I was like, oh, yeah, that whole thing I'm preaching about. He's like, yeah. So if you struggle with this, you got company. Not good company, but I'm company at least. Like, it's a profoundly human thing to just get to that point where like, I don't know, God, I don't know if I can trust you that it counts because I still feel bad about it. And it's hard to release it. In the 14th century, Robert Bruce was leading an army full of Scotsmen against England in rebellion so that they could have their own country. And he was close to winning the war, and the English decided the only way to keep the crown from the head of Robert Bruce was to hunt him down. So they actually captured his own bloodhounds and set them on his trail. And at one point, he and one of his assistants were hiding out in the woods, and they could hear his own hounds coming after him. And the guy looked at him, he's like, it's over, we're finished. They're going to find your hiding spot, and the English are going to kill you. And Bruce, knowing where they were in the forest a little bit better than his assistant, said, it's going to be all right. And they said that with Scottish accents. So it was like so much cooler than what I feel like I'd be a way better pastor with a Scottish accent. But instead I got this nasally, whatever. Anyway, like Bruce knew that they were by a stream. And so quickly he got up and he waded into the middle of this deep stream and submerged himself. And then he went for a ways up the stream, hopped out on the other side, and quickly disappeared into the forest. And as he and his assistant were doing that, they heard the hounds come to the stream and stop. And at that point, the English urged them forward, but the scent had been washed away. The trail was broken, and a short time later, the crown of Scotland sat on the head of Robert Bruce. I think in our lives, sin sometimes feels like those bloodhounds. Like we can't get past our past because we can't forget our past, and it feels like it's just always hunting us down, barking, coming after us, ready to kill us. But there is a stream that flows red with the blood of God's own Son. And if we will believe that he is who he says he is, then by grace through faith we can be forgiven because his blood washes our sin away. Our brokenness is completely made clean by his broken body and his blood shed, which means no sin, no matter how heavy it is, no matter how deep the guilt and shame you've been carrying are, can ever hunt us down like those hounds because we are washed clean. The cross repairs the irreparable. And I know some of us are here this morning feeling irreparable. We're looking at our life story. We're looking at the pages we wish we could rip out of it, feeling like this cannot be fixed. I will never be whole. I'll never be full again. And I worry if we buy into the cultural delusion that the way to get past that is to simply absolve ourselves somehow, then we'll never find the true fix for our problem. We'll never overcome our insecurities. We'll never understand our own worth. We'll never grasp the hope that's real and available in Jesus. As long as we embrace the idea that we need to forgive ourselves, we will struggle to embrace the truth that we are already forgiven. That our feelings and our failures don't get the final word. Jesus does, and his final word is, "It is finished." Like, he didn't die so we could walk around with guilt and shame weighing us down. He died so we could live forgiven and set free. The famous psychologist Carl Menninger once said that if you could convince people in mental institutions that their sins have been forgiven by God, 75% of them could walk out the next day. So much of the brokenness in our lives, the frustration and the depression and the self-loathing and the pain comes from not really fully believing that Jesus' sacrifice counts for us completely. But his blood was shed, the stream of God's grace washes us clean, and it sets our brokenness right. It justifies us, it removes our sin from us as far as the east is from the west, and those who've accepted Jesus are start with Jesus. Like, your past is real. It happened. But it doesn't have to define you anymore. For the live stream. All right. Your past is real. It happened. But it doesn't have to define you anymore because Jesus already carried the weight of it. You can't undo your past, but Jesus undid its power over you. And so you don't have to punish yourself for the stuff he already paid the price for any longer. You just don't. Because of the cross, everything you've ever done, every mistake you've ever made is not the final chapter nor the defining characteristic of your story. And the moment you start believing what Jesus said about you is the moment you can stop believing what your past says about you. You will get past your past when you know through Jesus you are reconciled, redeemed, and restored. And if you're here today and you don't know that, if you've never accepted it, if you've been beating yourself up, even if you've been going to church for a long time, you're like, yeah, but the cross counts for everybody else, but not for me. I'm too messed up and I'm too bad. I want you to know today that Jesus meant what he said and that his blood is sufficient. And you can be forgiven and set free. You can get rid of those ghosts. You can outrun that shadow the minute you surrender your life to him. And you can do it this morning. It's free and it's easy. All you have to do is believe and surrender. And if you will give him your life, he'll give you his life in return.